overlap, so it's hard to draft it correctly. And this actually applies to all the 2-lane maps. It is easy to get outdrafted on 2-lane maps because it is not possible to come back in general. If you're behind in experience on a 3-lane map, you can go soak, and the enemy team should be grouping to try and take advantage of the fact that they're ahead in levels, usually by value, so they can open up a lane that allows them to end the game.
Huh.
That's not true on 2-lane maps. On 2-lane maps, they can soak all the lanes and push in and get an advantage. So you have to get kills in order to come back when you're behind.
That makes sense.
Which means they're easier to lose in the draft because you draft later game heroes who don't peak at 13 or 12.
I mean, the obvious one there is, of course, to not pick something like Varian, who has to build over time on Battlefield of Eternity. You're never going to get to Twin Blades with an advantage, perhaps.
Yeah,
but
so
in that same mindset, should you think about maybe piling on? Like, building early wombos and just saying, let's get Rhaegar and just make it difficult at 10 for the blob of ultimates to be countered?
Yeah, and there's a famous example of this in pro play, of course, BlizzCon 2015.
Oh, what do you ban on Blackheart's Bay these days?
Team, Arthus.
Yeah, that sounds good. I think I can type Arthus fast enough. There we go. I was gonna get rid of Taka.
It was the Chinese team versus, I think it was Dignitas, and they went the Kerrigan Tyrael combo, and it was Haunted Mines, and they were they literally lost the entire game so hard that they were down a keep by the time they hit 10, and then they just blew all their heroics and won. But that gives you an idea. Like, the latest you can spike, a comp can spike on a 2-lane map is usually if you draft too many heroes that are later than that, you're gonna fall too far behind unless the other team drafted a late game well. But this is why drafting is so difficult, because you gotta think about the heroes, the way they synergize, the map, and the time frame of the game when power spikes are gonna matter.
Coming from StarCraft, that is one of the most interesting conversations to me that I feel like we're not having quite yet, is timing attacks and when heroes are at their most powerful. Outside of like Kael'thas on release, when we were all like 16 or 13, whichever one it was, run for it.
It was 16 with Ignite, and then it was 13 with Chain Bomb when they nerfed him / did not nerf him.
So they have a very kind of generic team at the moment. Nazebo kind of open, Bala saying something, Kavrasim. What would you get rid of here? Kill TAS?
If that Vala gets TAS, we'll never be able to kill her unless the Artanis gets a good swap.
Fair enough. So here with our Lucio, we can already kind of start thinking about less mobile heroes because we'll have an advantage, or is just Blackheart's Bay 2 PvE and we'll want to kind of do our own thing?
I think we're okay right now. We just need a tank. We have a support. We need someone who can consistently clear mid and top waves. So Gul'dan is a really good double soaker. Zul's a really good double soaker. Ragnaros is a good double soaker, but
yeah, he got knocked out. Do you still concern yourself with someone in the bottom, someone strong like that, or is the double soak gonna push everyone down there anyway? It should just be a team fighty. You know, maybe even with a Lucio, I go Zul here or something along those lines, or Diablo.
In Hero League, ganks are usually so poorly coordinated that you can actually have one person double soak top and just have 4 people go bot.
Yeah.
Convince your team to do it. It doesn't work in professional play, which is why professional players will make fun of you for suggesting it as a strategy. But it does work.
Well, I mean, if you're double soaking the top and Hammer's in the bottom, that's good.
Best thing they could pick here is Zarya. It gives the Vala a shield, and it gives them an early game hero to bridge the gap to their Nazebo, who's going to be their late game carry.
And I assume Nazebo would, at least at the moment, try to verse you in the top.
He can try. He can't keep up until 7 if he takes Dead Rush. If he doesn't take Dead Rush, he can actually never keep up with the Gul'dan.
If you're doing the double soak there, I assume at 4 you would want the regeneration because it's too expensive. But you're doing double soak, so you could just pad out your health a lot.
Yeah, if I'm going to be by myself and my sport's not nearby at all, I'll go consume Soul. That's really not good for us.
Yeah, Leoric for me, and then Zarya to give that Vala the shield she's looking for. Should we try to get Hammer on? Well, too late for that, but is the Hammer a bad pick now?
Hammer's fine. The big punish is going to be potentially Entomb, especially with Expulsion Zone. It's a little combo I like to call the penalty box, but other than that, Hammer doesn't really have any massive threats on that team.
I like it. I've heard it called the Panini Press. I don't know why it was called the panini press. Yours makes a little more sense. There's no... Well, there's kind of a sandwich involved, I guess. I do like the entombed tub, though, throwing it out when you have lots of AoE guys and letting them just pile it on.
Speaking of timing attacks and things, I actually will be having an article coming out soon. It's actually finished, but GFE, their artist, is on vacation, so when he comes back, he's going to do art for it. And I actually do... It's a 6,000 word article. It was meant to be shorter. Couldn't do it. It actually goes over the spikes of every single hero.
Oh, damn.
And when they drop off and fall off. So if people are curious about this, if they want to know, oh, when does this hero do this? When does this hero do this? There will be an article coming out soon that actually goes over. The only hero not currently in there is Probius, and I have a Nubarak and Arthus put in there tentatively, but I think Arthus is where he belongs. A Nubarak might be based on his noob, but yeah,
I think you can be forgiven for giving that a little bit of time to iron out before making the claim.
So if the topic's interesting to you guys, there will definitely be a resource in the very near future to give you another perspective on drafting and timing and when heroes spike.
I really look forward to that because, you know, right now Hero League I'm very much drafting for the map, very focused on making sure there's enough lane clear to win the game in the first place or just enough damage, but that's just an avenue that interests me. And I'd like to hear in the casting experience with the doodles on the screen and, you know, people bringing up stopwatches and just, you know, going nuts. Let's see, Lucio.
10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Artanis should solo if you guys aren't gonna go for him in bot.
Yeah, you want us to do that early, yeah? These guys all run into the middle for the fight, I guess.
Whatever.
I guess we'll have the fight. It's
I'm not going anywhere near that vision.
Oh. Well, no, she's out. She's good.
I'm actually clearing top because that way they have to make a choice when getting the coins or getting this wave.
That seems fair. I don't think they would feel... That's not something you think about. I don't think anyone's going to really note that they've lost something there, but it does. It does add up.
Naz is bot, so we need to send at least one person down there. Maybe we can convince Artanis to go down there now that he's dead.
Yeah, let's do that. I think that's good. Hammer's still... She's just a little out of range, though. And I need to get out of here before Drain Hope finishes me off. You are.
Pop up your doubloons, and maybe I'll turn me cannon on your foe.
Alright, well, Artanis is in position. Would he be our Merker as well? Do we need to relieve him of duty?
Did he go amateur opponent?
Yeah,
No, you can't work with that amateur.
Nah, reactive parry.
Yep.
That's something I wanted to ask you about. How do you feel about block? And why do so many pros take it when it's random?
Block is... I'm not gonna die here. Block is fine on some heroes. Reactive parry on Artanis is just a bad decision, though. Seasoned Marksman, once it's finished, improves his late game survivability because you increase your attack speed, which increases your resets, and he's a late game hero anyway.
Yeah.
And Amateur Opponent not only gets you to the late game, but also is the primary reason he's even competitive because of his strength on map objectives like Battlefield of Eternity. He was played in the Chinese scene on Battlefield of Eternity before his rework solely because of that.
I just love his decisiveness with Amateur Opponent and how he's able to take something out if he wants. He doesn't have to wait for Gazlo to come down to take that tower.
There is no escape. So be it. This is but a prelude.
There's 2 tops, so you guys should have a pretty good advantage bot right now.
Yeah, it looks like we're gonna get Zarya, but you know she takes a while.
Died to the multi-shot, that was my bad. That's okay, it gives me a chance to read chat.
Right, exactly, no problems.
Fish Fingers, could you ask about his thoughts on the different mages and the skill differentials of the different ranks? It's actually a pretty interesting question. We talked about it earlier, but wave clear is so incredibly important that at like low ranks, it's better to play Jaina, Kael'thas, or Gul'dan 100% of the time. Gul'dan's not really a mage in the sense that most people mean it, because when we talk about mages, we usually talk about burst damage, and Gul'dan doesn't have burst damage until Echoed Corruption is finished, and he's 16 for Ruinous Affliction. So Gul'dan's like a bruiser mage. He's a sustained damage dealer, which is not something that people knew they wanted until he came out and Koreans started playing him. Which is kind of funny. It's like, we didn't know we wanted this. The value of Li-Ming really isn't her resets, but she's not going to secure kills, that first kill that gets her to snowball on her own in a lot of cases. So she can carry in Hero League if you're like really, really good at her, but it's not reliable, especially at lower ranks. So I would play Kael'thas at low MMR pretty consistently and just spread Chain Bomb. Spread Chain Bomb.
Seems easy with the positional mistakes that would be happening around you constantly.
Yeah, it really is. It's kind of upsetting when I have a KT on the enemy team and my team's just like, let's spread Chain Bomb 100% of the time.
I like to imagine that they didn't live through what we lived through during his OP periods. You learned very, very quickly how to deal with Kael'thas during that time. I just have to assume they're part of a different era.
A younger generation.
Right, exactly. So if Gul'dan is the sustained spellcaster, what's Nazeebo? Is he in that same camp?
A sustained spellcaster, but
Yeah.
Nazeebo doesn't carry a game until 20. Gul'dan can start to carry a game at 10 because Horrify is such a good heroic, and he can start to do a lot of damage at 16. And his key build is actually very good if you need sustained damage. We don't really have, prior to Gul'dan, we didn't really have any sustained ability damage dealers. Except for Lunara, and Lunara had such a bad release that people a lot. So he was sort of the first of his kind in that sense, and people still haven't adapted to the fact that he's a mage that doesn't convert L16. So.
We did get the kill, but this fight has had not much purpose.
A good kill there.
Oh, well, that got us enough coins to actually do it, so it did have a purpose. Yeah, Lunara is someone that's been coming up recently because with Tychus out and Giant Killers not being as good, Lunara might become the new tank buster.
Bah, who cares? Let's get to the fun part.
So bad, I hope it is unbeatable. Maybe. The thing about Lunara is she's a really, really late game hero. Because her trait scales at 5%. And if you do the math, it slows up even 50% of the time. Unfair Advantage is better than Giant Killer. But with all the armor considerations, she might be like a flex hero, where if you're against a spell shield, you can go Giant Killer. If you're against someone who has physical armor, you can go Unfair Advantage. You just need the right number of slows to make her really, really strong. Unless you were forced to go to Spell Shield. There was actually a short period where she was kind of a dueling hero who could 1v1 a Li-Ming with create her Spell Shield and come out ahead. And that denied the value from Li-Ming because there was no chance of getting resets.
Well, and that Leaping Strike is really good for doing a good 1v1, but it's just not often what you need in the game.
Yeah, a lot of pros are taking Leaping Strike right now, but it's for mobility. They're like, oh, I'm going to get entombed? No, I'm out of here. It does make spreading poison a little bit harder. He just burned Enchu into... New question, who is CavalierGuest?
Why, he is my Cavalier guest for the day. But he's done a ton of... You're doing the HGC Open as well right now, aren't you?
I usually cast the HGC Open as one of the unofficial streams. I'm actually casting the Maelstrom later tonight, which is going to be the first real Pro-Am tournament that we've had.
Nice.
So amateur teams are competing, and the top 4 will get a chance to play against professional teams that are currently in the HCC. We have Superstars, Gale Force Esports, and Eventic, and No Tomorrow participating.
Is that an event, or do they get something if they beat them?
There's a prize pool.
Oh, okay, but they're not like getting HGC points and gonna knock them out or anything weird like that.
God, I need to stop talking and dying in the top lane here.
Well, I am asking you rather complex questions, so I'll take the blame for any deaths you have.
Oh, that's okay. As long as it's not my fault.
No, it's all good. I mean, he's doing a thing of the deep. You weren't ready for the range. It's all good.
Yeah, but I'm a streamer. I'm a caster for the Justin community. I recently was recruited by Gale Force Esports to be their primary content creator for their relaunched website. So don't feel bad if you've never heard of me, but it's been around for a while.
Oh, I'm still alive somehow. Okay, there we go.
As you say, as you die.
They're good at that panini press. What was your name for it?
Penalty box.
The penalty box, the slaughter bin.
Hope you're in the mood for some treasure, matey.
Oh wow, they got three levels at the moment.
Your fort's in ruins.
The Open Tourney winners get to play for spots in HUC. That'll happen with the Crucible, which is a ways off. I think there are 8 cups total for the HCC Open, and we're currently in cup number 4.
It's a complex and wide tournament.
Zebo's just burning Gargantuan to push. It's kind of funny.
Looks like we are gonna head to that turn in here. I'm not sure.
I think we should. Well, no, they just hit 16. They're split though. We could fight 5v4.
Oh, I got a Leoric. Just gonna make sure he's not guarding. So you have the same thought. Ooh, Bala. Oh, I'm on cooldown. There we go. Nice.
A good kill there.
Someone's turning in right now.
Oh, we don't have enough coins to turn in.
No,
Feels bad.
Yeah, I think we're stuck in a protection loop at this point, but there's a lot of lane to soak still.
I saw the question, Ozerman. There's not really a good answer to Zarya on Brax's holdout. I've been experimenting with huge stun chain comps with it, so something like a Kerrigan plus a Muradin plus a Tyrande plus, or an ETC, something like that. Like really massive stun chains.
Just see if you can stop the
try and take an
shields.
early game tempo advantage, but it's inconsistently successful. Those of you who don't know this, Zarya has like one of the highest win rates on Braxis. It's her highest win rate map, and at a pro level at least, in a lot of ways, getting Zarya is an auto win on that map.
It seems that way, certainly in the pro scenes. Is that the same counter you'd use for someone like Hasadar? Is to try to just stun through the whole enchilada?
Always use another soul.
Yeah, that's actually what a lot of teams in fact do.
Nice little pushback. Run for it, Hammer! Oh no, there's still a fort there. We never even got it in the bottom.
I almost finished my quest, so if I get to 16, we should be in good shape. Is CavalierGuest still doing practice custom matches? I haven't done educational scrims in a couple weeks. For those of you who don't know, I used to run an event called Educational Scrims, and basically what I would do is it would be myself and another player who was usually a professional player. Handlebar's doing it for a while, or a GM player. Sray was doing it for quite a while with me as well. And we would be captains of viewer teams, and we would try and have 5v5 scrims with a real draft, and it would be like just a very educational experience. I stopped doing it when HCC started because a lot of the people who were helping out playing HCC
Sure.
on the weekend, which is when educational scrims was. obviously created a little bit of a problem schedule-wise. I am gonna try and make an effort coming back. I have some people who need you who said they've expressed an interest in being captain, so maybe I can make it happen soon-ish.
That certainly is a. It's a. Not necessarily a problem, but HGC coming in did just unleash a huge amount of content onto the scene. Endless content.
Should be able to get 16 top here. They have another turn in, which means we're gonna want to fight them for that. But they could just go do boss instead. Hopefully they're not smart enough to do that.
Well, there goes Nazebo angling top, so it looks like it's a boss just due to him. No, he's kind of been doing his own thing all game. That's not really a tell.
Okay, so they were totally a boss. But we needed 16, so it's fine. We can fight this behind them if we get there. We go. Needed to wait until we were 16.
Okay, everyone got out. Well, Artanus, but that's Artanus. He's still going. That's the Divine Palm down anyway. No, not the hover siege. Oh no.
As an example of a really bad idea, if we had just waited till we had 16 and then fought behind the boss as it went by, we could have won that.
Well, I'm still just. I'm amazed that Hammer even survived as long as she did, and then just hover sieging away. I think we're kind of coming up, and there's. Oh, Zarya hurts. I want to live. Oh, he's still going. Oh wait, I res. I'm still going. He's out of jumps. All right, turned it around. Oh my goodness, what's catapults?
I got him. I can just one-shot them.
Pardon my positioning then. I think Nazebo could just run in with a Gargantua and finish that out.
Yeah. So we have to zone core like really far out consistently. We can get a turn in here.
Yeah, I've got 6 I can unload. Probably just park hammer. The tough thing about the turn in, or the... It's always easy to imagine you have more core health than you do because of that shield regeneration. Seems rather lonely. They're still down Monk. I guess he's guarding a turn in. Oh, it happened.
Yeah,
well,
that's what we need to do.
At least I got to put Nazebo in his own wall.
That one's not getting up. You're cannon fodder.
Oh, actually, that's not going to take out the fort, so I need to stop that catapult.
I got it. Go be with the team.
All
Go.
cannons hold.
I mean, ideally, we... well, you defend the base while we go win everything and turn in 20 times in a row.
It doesn't sound like winning. I'm familiar with the way winning sounds.
Yeah, you wouldn't be incorrect as to how that fight just went down. But here's Lucio. They don't have another turn in.
Just survive. They don't have a turn.
That's all you
Bosses
need, man.
now.
Yeah, Gul'dan Lucio. That's all you need. Still only
They're
7.
gonna finish bottom.
Yeah, looks like they're just gonna truck on in with that nice little pile of Merc win condition.
Be careful! You just lost a key! Look alive! They're attacking your core!
I died way too much there.
Do you think it was a kind of Nazebo counter? His aggression, his almost off-meta play style of using Gargantuan so aggressively got you?
MVP.
I think it was mostly the talking.
Fair enough.
I wasn't doing my rotations correctly. Also, Kerosene was up there a bunch, which means I was in 2v1, but that means the bot was in a 4v3.
Yeah.
And 4v3 with Artanis Hammer is like an easy fort, especially with amateur opponent on Artanis. But then Artanis didn't go amateur opponent, and we didn't have anyone who could do camps because he didn't go amateur opponent. So, yeah.
That's tough. So in that situation, if this was Hero League and you were in my position, you went for double soak. We got a Hammer who's great in the bottom. Artanis, by taking him on this map, is making at least some pledge, ideally, to do Merc camps. If I'm drafting here, should I have said, I don't trust Artanis to Merc camp well enough, I'll go do a Mercer? Would that have been the best change?
Yeah, drafting somebody who could have gone Mercs would have been reasonable. The problem is we needed a tank, and there aren't a lot of good solo Merc tankers. Like, that's not a thing.
Yeah. Well, I probably shouldn't be. That doesn't really seem like their job.
At that point, that he's going block, he's basically saying, I want to fight people. Block against Zarya is so questionable. But
yeah, the attack speed.
We could have just like ignored the PvE aspect and just brawled. Brawling into a Zarya is usually not a good idea, but they wouldn't have had the Nazebo spike until 20. Maybe we could have pulled it out. This is a primary problem with the average level of knowledge in the HOTS community that people just don't know.
Yeah, and I feel like that is due to the complexity of the maps, because it seems like for Dota anyway, you just lock onto one and you have a main, whereas I love that Heroes stops the kind of main conversation, because the second you say you have you're a Diablo main, my first thought is, oh well, you're probably throwing some drafts, aren't you? Just thinking with one hero.
Yeah, and I will say that if you're going to main a hero, it's not a bad thing. Drafting is a consideration that happens more and more the higher level your player are. But there's a lot of GM players who are one-trick ponies.
And for Hero League, I don't see that as too big of an issue, as long as it's generic enough, like Falstad, you mentioned.
But if you need something, like you need a support, you need a tank. The difference between not having a healer versus having a healer is like 10%. It's pretty big in a draft environment. You should probably pick that thing, even if you are a one-trick pony. Just do your best. It's
probably don't skip on the healer, skip on a tank. Probably not the best. Though it certainly does feel like solo tank Sonya, as questionable as it can be, sometimes it just rolls face. Yeah,
and usually in double support, what happens at mid levels of play is if you draft a comp that doesn't have a tank, but it has a tanky front line and has a lot of damage, you just YOLO in and trade up. They kill you, but you kill 3 of them. That seems reasonable. That will never happen in like pro play with even teams, but it happens all the time in the Hero League.
Well, just something as simple as disengaging a Maelstrom Kerrigan is extremely difficult to do in Hero League, because if anyone hangs out, she gets shields. Or, Bloodlust or any of these sort of just run for it for 10 seconds and we'll re-engage after, when that's the right answer.
Okay, so we have a better race comp already, because if you build Vala, it's better race than Greymane. Li-Ming also is really good poke, so we just need someone to zone them off. Oh, do I get to play the Orc?
That'd be slick.
I get to play the Orc. I hardly ever get to play the Orc.
I love him. They've hinted for such a long time that they're going to be redoing a skeletal swing, or at least working in a skeleton swing build. I would love, even if it took every talent point of mine, to have good lane clear. Just to be that bruiser and be like, we still need this aspect.
It's funny, he used to be such a good early game hero, and then the scaling changes happened and the slight nerf to his Q, and now he's like, Spectral Leech or bust.
Right, well, and then Crushing Hope, your 13-16, I feel like are required because that's your damage output, and that's why you took a Leoric in the first place.
Yeah, Crushing Hope and Unyielding Despair is a really brutal combination, especially with Entomb.
I mean, if you're not going to hit your Drain Hopes in the first place, why are you playing Leoric? And that's a sad fact of him, and I think that kills some of the fun of him, but...
First rule of Leoric Club is you have to hit every W. If you don't hit every single W, you're not a real hero.
No, that's true. That's true. Brutal but true. So what do you think of the Tassadar here? Is that, I mean, great with Vala, but is that enough?
Good with the Vala. Also, healing is better when you have shielding, and Drain Hope is a heal. So you can also have Dominance at 4 on Li-Ming. It's a heal. You can have Temper by Discipline at 13 on Vala if she goes for that. Or Siphoning Arrow if she goes for full Q build. So shields are always good. I would want another support, though. In addition to, like, I want a healer and the shields.
Is the heal from Leoric's Drain Hope better with shields because it's over time, whereas Arthus Death Coiling himself under a shield would be less value? Because the burst
all healing is better with shields.
Okay, just flat.
And in fact, all healing is better with armor, which is one of the reasons that the armor buffs have started, because Blizzard said this explicitly. They want to be able to reduce the amount of healing that supports can do, but they felt that when they did that internally, it wasn't good enough healing on tanks because their health pools were so high. So now instead of health, tanks have armor. It's going to be, healing will be as effective on them as it is on Squishy. So sometime down the line, after all these tank changes, all the supports are going to get their healing reduced.
Yeah, I've been excited for that too. I know it's a real big feature of HOTS that healers are as important as they are. I played a lot of support in Dota, and it was ward management and making sure you didn't get in anybody's way. It wasn't particularly fun. So I'm very happy that exists, but I think with armor we can start to reduce down the healing numbers and be in a happier, more decisive place, because I love Uther, and I know lots of people say he's boring, but I love the decision process of you get the big heal, you get the tiny heal. And if all healers can start to go that way, I think that'd be really neat.
Man, I hope we get Bloodlust Archon. Ancestral would probably be the better option here, but Bloodlust Archon is such a fun thing to play with.
So we got a Rhaegar here. I'm gonna do my normal kind of magic missile build because of the burn on a single target standing still. Would you, because if we only had a Tassadar, would that force you into domination in your mind?
There's no force. Now that without Essa Johanna or Essa Johan, the level 4 on Li-Ming is really flexible. Dominance is really good for reset builds because it allows you to be really aggressive with Calamity. If you're not going to go Calamity, then Dominance loses a lot of its value.
Yeah.
If you need, like, Charge Blast kind of acts as a damage increase. Single target, it's the best single target damage for racing now. And then you have Triumvirate, which is like a poke talent. By reducing the cooldown, you can consistently interrupt channels, like on Cursed Hollow, Towers of Doom, stuff like that. So I play a very aggressively Ming that's looking for constant resets, so I usually just go Dominance. But
sure.
It is one of those situations where it's a tier that's well enough designed that every talent is good, and it can even come down to playstyle as opposed to just like a strict, this one's better.
I mean, I only pick Li-Ming on Battlefield right now because it is... She's had a rough go, and as we talked about earlier and throughout this broadcast, lane clear is rather important. Which maybe should push me on to Li-Ming on other 2-lane maps, since she lacks that lane clear. That might be an observation.
Yeah, she's good at practice, good at poke. She's bad against Zarya, because you just feed energy to the Zarya.
Because that delay.
And then Zarya is just good, so that's bad. But just ban Zarya, and then you can Li-Ming, it's fine.
I mean, would the Zarya counter basically be a burst mage that has like a Holy Light Uther style where it just happens, so there was no wind-up time for her to dodge?
Oh, false said you walked into the Drain Hope. What a silly bird you are. Yeah, something like that. That'd be reasonable. Hey, Falstad, did you know that I can 1v1 you? Did you know that? Because I knew that.
How would you go about increasing the awareness of the overall Hero League community? Because it's a tough cookie.
I have not found a good answer to that question, despite many, many, many months of creating educational content and trying to do so.
Oh, that was awesome. And Rhaegar B-steps like it was all him.
I love this conversation going on in chat. But healing idiots is so painful. It is true, you can't heal stupid. You're not going to be able to carry as a support, except for maybe a Mouth with Twilight Dream in Hero League. But on the other hand, it is the most important role, so how do you want to do that?
Yeah, Twilight Dream probably. I like Emerald Wind for that reason, but I still just straight up avoid supporting whenever I can.
Just provide everyone vision here, keep everyone slowed.
Okay.
I'm gonna make Arthus' life an absolute nightmare because he has no mobility and he's just slowed 100% of the time. I'm about to come up, I can kill him. Oh, if I'm not bad.
I'm out of mana.
I can't believe I missed that Drino. That would have absolutely 100% been a kill.
You missed it for the good of everyone else listening.
My spells are ready.
Okay, they spooked. They got spooked by a solo Leoric just standing there, so we win.
That's always fun. That's the best part about being a tank, though, is walking towards people and seeing them run for it. That is what I live for.
What am I looking for on the Uther rework? It's actually an interesting question. I think I'm looking for him to be an off tank. I want Uther to be a viable option such that you can draft him as a support and the bruiser, which leaves the rest of your draft a lot more flexible otherwise and makes him really interesting in double support comps, because that would make drafting interesting. And whenever I think about what I want to have happen with the hero, my thing is always, I want an interesting draft option.
Was Hero... Well, you said Hearthstone, but were you a World of Warcraft fan or anything like that?
I played all the games. I wasn't like someone who played the. I just played the campaigns though.
Sure, nothing wrong with that.
I was a guild leader of a WoW guild for like a while.
Oh, nice. So do you have a most requested
like a top
hero?
400 worldwide guild, but it's not something you like brag about.
Well, in the right company, I think that's brag-worthy. I too led a raid party for a bit in BC. It was the dungeon master in me. And the convenience of getting my friends to sit down for D&D over just playing World of Warcraft.
Two bots, so you guys can pressure top continually. I'll keep them here with the slow. I'm gonna try to do bottom camp, so you guys can get that entire fort, I think.
I think we should. We're just a little pushed back at the moment. Rhaegar needs to tank up a little bit, and he's being shy. And I think he's changing his Spotify at the moment.
Should I even be here? Fall back.
Let's see. Do you have a most requested hero that you would like from your time in WoW or any other game?
Not really. I'm a big fan of interesting mechanics. I don't even pay attention to the universe that they're in, but a lot of people like that's their big thing.
Certainly, the recent craze of Warcraft heroes had people in an uproar.
And they were all assassins. Like Blizzard was like, oh, we didn't realize that they were all different types of assassins, but I don't want different types of assassins. I want not assassins for a little bit.
I mean, I get it though. Jeez, this beetle really likes me. There was that time period where every draft looked the same because of the assassins. And having Zul'jin able to fill in where Bala used to go is nice. But doesn't necessarily make the whole team look different.
Double kill. Triple kill. I am unstoppable. Quad kill. Go.
I should shoot for top. You guys do this.
Yeah, we've still got a swap to go, so we'll have to fight him again.
Well, if it spawns favorably, we can just race.
Gonna go grab up my well, but no, I can go easy.
This coming, did you?
There's wow, they're chasing us.
If this were easy, everyone would do it. I think you'll regret this.
Guess yeah, they're trying to zone for their Greymane? Greymane's in the back burning?
Greymane's racing.
Then I should just try to sneak around the side.
Yeah, just race with the
Same.
poke from Li-Ming. I got a back for full.
Oh hey.
Retreat.
Cool, Greymane went
Can't
down.
defend. They can't defend this anymore.
Fine.
We did get a Bloodlust, awesome. Bloodlust Archon, your dream came true.
My
The
knowledge
light of the crystal arch shines on.
travels never end.
See, you just kill Arthus as Leoric. If you don't know how to beat Arthus, you just kill him.
I do feel like with the resurgence of Arthus, I do need to put a lot of work back into Tychus.
Almost not worth
The heavens shall triumph this day.
it. Why not? You're almost not worth it.
Here's a little thing. You can always, if you get your team to do it, you can focus on the side walls when you're pushing because it has less health in the gate, and you can get in a little bit faster to protect your push. Something that people like do all the time in pro play and no one ever talks about.
Certainly been thinking about those side walls a lot recently with the Gazlo rework.
They're slow. You can just skitch.
It seems like my
Another advantage of Leoric, he's the only tank that can peel when he's dead.
this coming, did you?
I think I can kill this Arthus. Come back alive.
If this were easy, everyone would do it.
Our forge is lost.
I'll get right on it, Rhaegar.
Your grave awaits.
It's okay. I saved Rhaegar from his own stupidity with the entomb there. It's fine.
Returns.
Wait, did you entomb Rhaegar to stop him from engaging any deeper?
Yeah, I used it as a wall.
Oh, that's a good choice.
If this were easy,
I have body
everyone would
blocked
do
many a
it.
teammate to stop them from going in before.
How does this feel? Fine. I want to take this mercenary.
Now, Rhaegar didn't go Lightning Bond. That's really bad for us.
Be wary.
That would be...
Eternal battle
Oh,
will soon
not the one where
Level
you
1
get the shield.
double Lightning Shield. It would have helped a lot for the race.
Grave awaits.
Shouldn't say it's really bad. It's not ideal. That's Cindy down. Just back up.
Our teammate needs help. Repent before my wrath, demon.
I think that's going down. I'm gonna get to a little bit of burn while they're busy.
One of our forts has fallen.
Keeping them slowed. Grandman's coming to you.
Cool, I'm getting
Everyone
out
else
of
is
here.
still here.
Almost not worth it. All right then.
Dash shields people at full health even if they have self-healing. It's not great.
Yeah, that's one of those scenarios where you're like, at least he's casting the spells on cooldown.
Why not?
Your spirit is strong, mortal.
Alright,
It is time
I'm getting
for
to work most
change
of it.
in strategy.
We can kill this Arthus. Yeah, he's dead.
Such daring. Another winning streak shattered.
I'm gonna clear top.
Sounds good. Looks like we are good to finish this out.
Sometimes I really miss
Ideally, we want to keep up with this, so we can open up a lane and put the pressure on them.
We stand victorious.
Just don't be aggressive until I get there.
Sometimes I really miss
Well, ideally, we should wait for the actual immortal to be in range before we.
I mean, Mortal's good too, but like, don't do anything until I'm not. Until I'm not.
I'll do my best. I mean, I can control myself.
Corruption will spawn.
So many questions from chat. It's so hard to answer all of them.
We'll take a break here after this game too and get to quite a few.
There's another dead Arthus. And a Lily. Perfect team.
double kill.
Mage,
I got him.
your
You're
spirit
avenged.
is
We're gonna get
Thank
a
you.
keep. That's worth it.
I think so.
a worthy battle. I will return again soon.
Okay, my Vola did the correct thing and focused the keep while I was creating space for her. That's all I wanted her to do.
It's just nice to have a Rhaegar when your level's up.
Oh, that was not what I intended.
Arthas went with the Icebound Fortitude, I'm guessing to stop maybe your
Seems like
CC,
my
but
travels
probably just to give him
never
armor during my spells, I would assume.
Icebound Fortitude is just the best talent that tier. Pro players will literally like laugh at you for taking anything else. Not figuratively.
Well,
Sometimes they'll go on occasional like 10-minute rants about how you're a horrible human being.
Well, yeah, they need to live in a world of absolutes, because the game is constantly changing. Something's got to make sense in this world.
But Icebound Fortitude is just ridiculous. Arthus' primary problem is his lack of mobility. When you have no mobility, you're really easy to lock down with CC, just in general. And so having anti-CC and anti-burst, especially when you have a lot of self-healing in your kit, is ridiculously valuable. It usually has a lower win rate. I think it's actually not true right now, but usually it has a lower win rate. But
That
that's
makes
true of
sense, like cleanse.
most talents that add a button.
Yeah.
So if you go look at any talent that adds another button, it tends to have a slightly lower win rate than other talents of that tier, because you have to push another whole nother button, which apparently is very difficult.
Well, you know, they simplified the game. They took away the items, and that's the next tier.
There is no
Quiet.
escaping my justice.
Seems like my travels never end. Your grave awaits.
The angels smile.
Double kill. Triple kill.
That's another free kill on Arthas. This is getting easier now at 16.
Well, you're all spec'd up.
Yeah. I got my cooldown reduction, I got my bonus damage.
I can miss half my magic missiles and still hit things.
My spells are ready. Your grave awaits.
This is the one downside of this build. You do start to have mana problem. Gotta actually back as Leoric.
I love
What is
getting
this
to do
nonsense?
fealty unto death in a nice lane map, but sadly I don't get to draft Leoric too often these days.
Our triumph brings order to this realm.
He seems to confuse people if he's not currently winning in pro.
I mean, he's always been a very popular EU pick. Man, I died a lot this game though. I should have played safer early game considering my spike isn't until later. But on the other hand, I died a lot to secure an immortal because of the race, so it was kind of worthwhile. I was meant to be on the Grey Mane, but it ended up being on the Falstad, which is not good. Oh, actually, I lied. It forced him to use barrel, so we got the kill off of that right there. That's my Arthus. Nope, mine. Lili? There we go. Stop healing my dead Arthus.
It's still got shield.
So here's a funny fact. The Oric's average damage numbers have gone down because of the tank changes.
That makes sense. Yeah, and you know, Cho'Gall lost a lot of health too, so maybe all that chunking. Well, that's certainly why I felt the Tychus changes were warranted at the time, but as they've gone on, they felt odd. But maybe he shouldn't be able to reach the back line. Like, that level 1 had to go a little bit. I'll give him that.
30% of teamfight damage healed. I got top healer, guys.
Nice. Well, you did tank a lot of damage.
I was playing Leoric for the record.
Yeah, I guess.
And we had two.
I guess it doesn't come up on the page, but we know you at least healed more than 48,000 and 30,000. Huh.
That's... Man, can you imagine if I'd gotten Spectral Leech? If we'd gotten to 20?
Well, that's just a blast. I love getting to get in the... I just love vampiric auto attacks. Something from Warcraft 3 for me.
Oh, did you DC? You DC'd.
Did I?
We're not in the same party anymore, so at
Oh.
some point you must have gotten kicked.
Yeah, some sort of mini pop. Well, all the same, I'll get you re-invited here. Let's address some of those questions that were piling up, and then we'll take our short little break and come on back for some more games.
I think this is where I left off. Have you noticed the level 1 talent for Li-Ming now has block icon on the bar? This is new this patch. She had it when she was initially implemented, and she lost it for a couple of patches, and now it's back. It's just something that happens a lot with UI changes. I spend a couple of hours every single patch going through and checking certain things that change from patch to patch and are never documented. Some of them are visual, some of them are actually impactful. The way certain things interact with Void Prison, for instance, changes. Supposed to, but they do. There's other odd bugs that pop up from time to time, inconsistently. It's like the same bug over and over and over again, so it's weird.
Right, they remove it, and then the old build they're working on had that bug, so they end up working it back in, and they forget and they have to redo it again. Do you think are the tooltips maybe don't have enough information on that sort of stuff? Like, some things are missiles, and some things drag along the ground. Like, not everything can hit a Zagara. Creep tumor.
Eventually, we're going to have like a wiki the way other MOBAs do, and then
Yeah, they're just not able to keep up right now.
Those descriptions are going to be really, really extensive, and then Blizzard's going to see that people want that data, want that information, and they're going to be like, oh, well, people actually want this. Let's put it in the game. We're not there yet, but complaints about tooltips are pretty common. And like, how long is a new Barak stun? Have you ever actually gone and looked at Burrow Charge?
Does it not say?
Here, let's not disappoint people. Let's actually read it in all its glory. So you click on a new Barak, you go to his abilities, you click on his Burrow Charge, burrow to the target location, dealing 96 damage and briefly stunning enemies in a small area upon surfacing, slowing them by 25% for 2.5. briefly stunning.
Well, is that a term though? Is Johanna briefly stunning? Stunning them for 0.25. No, she has a number on there.
She does.
Huh.
For the record, it is a half-second stun.
So it's longer than
although
Johanna's.
Johanna actually has an example of this. Falling Sword. After 2 seconds, Johanna lands, dealing 365 damage to nearby enemies and knocking them into the air. What is knocking them into the air? Well, it's a 0.25 second stun.
Maybe that's where the arguments lied. Like, someone was just like, listen, we can't have the stun or the knock-up on Falling Sword last that long. And you know what? We just won't put in the tooltip and we'll change it later. But that's like a barrel on Chen. Like, that pushback silencing you needs to be addressed in there. Because knocking
Chen's barrel has a lot of issues. I think they finally fixed the issue where your natural health regen doesn't function in barrel.
Wow.
Especially for his regen build, was really bad.
Huh. Oh, for yourself, not for other people. It's not like you're.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
When you're in barrel, you didn't have your natural regeneration, which means like if you went in with a certain amount of brew and you had from Brewmaster's Balance, you had your regen active, it didn't happen anymore.
Oh.
So it was significant because Chen is a hero who's all about very small margins of survivability. I think they finally fixed that, unless they bugged it out again. But like, these are big things that actually do matter to balance, and they seem really small, but they're inconsistent across heroes. Like Tychus regenerates when he's an Odin. It's exactly the same thing. You're being taken over by heroic. Why doesn't Chen regenerate? Same health bar. Like Blizzard has stated that they implemented the heroes piecemeal. So each hero has its own code, and then they realized they had a lot of overlap in terms of what was being done. And they are currently, right now, working on unifying their code base so that everything works the same way. But
what does that ultimately mean is the problem, and what will the fix change?
The problem is spaghetti code. Like evasion, parry, blind, all of those interactions all work differently. Some blinds even work differently from other blinds. In terms of what they affect. Not every patch, but some patches.
Oh, so is that why you get in the rhythm stacks when you are blinded by Johanna but not Lili?
Yeah, there's stuff like that exists, and it's not consistent from patch to patch. But they're working on unifying it so that everything works the same. They are working on it. It's just going to be like a ways down the line. Obviously, it's hard with almost 60 plus heroes at this point to have all those abilities and be like, all of these are going to work consistently based on their tools. Blind is a blind. Slows are slows.
So here's a good question. Why didn't Chen come back when Tychus left? Or where is Chen at the moment in general?
Chen is in China. China is literally the only professional scene that plays Chen. The thing about Chen is he's not a tank. He doesn't really have great peel. He doesn't have a great escape, which means he's not really much of a ward. So when you're playing Chen, you're playing him as a bruiser, and his damage is pretty low to be played as a bruiser. The only justifiable reason to play Chen is if he's absolutely going to dominate a soul lane matchup. And it's going to be on a map where the soul lane is incredibly important. So Tomb of the Spider Queen, Brax's Holdout, Dragonshire, like those are the maps where you really have a super, super, super important soul lane, and if you dominate it, you're just ahead of the. And his soul laning build, especially for just really outpushing someone like a Thrall, kind of depends on Ring of Fire, which is not a good late game talent. So you're banking on the idea that you can out tempo the enemies, get a 2-3 level lead, hit 10 first, turn that lead into multiple forts, which gets you to 13-10. So you're always up a talent tier, and you just tempo out the game. If you can't do that, you're not going to win with a Chen composition, unless you're doing something really cheesy like Chen Abathur, and the Chen just doesn't die, but Muradin's strictly better for that. So that's where Chen is.
Interesting. So would Chen... So if so many people out there right now really need a solo laner on Braxis, would Chen be that opportunity for them, or is that too complex? What would be the easiest thing to do?
He doesn't win every matchup. It's just the matchup he wins really hard.
Yeah.
He beats Thrall like ridiculously hard. And when Chen got his rework and people were really up about Thrall, up about him, Thrall was in the meta.
Yeah.
So that's a consideration. If you wanted to practice solo laners for Braxis, the solo lane is kind of in a funny position right now, because it is kind of a weird rock paper scissors dynamic. There are favorable matchups for almost every hero that is considered a traditional solo laner. And there's certain heroes, like Falstad, actually stacks up very favorably against a Haka because you can pretty much tie him in lane until 7. And then once you have 7, Boomerang gives you direct kill pressure on the Haka, and he doesn't have disengage that works fast enough. So Falstad's not traditionally a solo laner. I would never pick him as a solo laner if I was like, we need a solo laner. But if I was up against a Haka and I knew he was going to be my opponent, I would go Falstad 100% of the time, especially on Braxis.
So if you were going up against a Thrall, you'd pick a Chen?
If I was going up against Thrall, I'd pick a Chen. If I was going up against Ragnaros, I would pick a Sonya. If I was going up against Sonya, I'd pick an Arthus. If I was going up against an Arthus, I'd pick a Leoric. Like, round and round and round and round and round.
Yeah.
This is one of the reasons that when I'm commentating games, I'll usually talk about how it's a mistake to pick your solo laner early in a competitive draft, because you can, that's going to be their solo laner, and then you can. Chinese teams do this weird thing where they draft 2 solo laners, one at the beginning and one at the end of the draft, and then you don't know. You just don't know which was going to be the solo laner. But Chinese teams are very strange. It works for them. In fairness, they have beaten Korean teams sometimes.
Well, I think too that they just have because the PC clubs, they have more of a cultural or exchange, and it seems like our NA players are really in their own heads, focused on themselves, maybe.
That's fair. It's absolutely true.
Well, awesome. Any other questions you saw, or shall we take that short break?
Apparently, I'm just dropping so much mad knowledge that people are like stunned and they can't ask more questions.
Well, they can think over the short break. The